Welcome everyone to LASA's January webinar. We're excited to hear from Stephanie Marone. She's a marketing and business strategist and very eager to hear her insights about LinkedIn and how to use it for lead generation and client retention. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. This is great. Okay, do you want me to introduce myself then? Just kind of go through everything?
If you can give your background and everything that would be relevant, that would be fantastic.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And guys, I put a link to my LinkedIn here. I see we've got a number of fellow women who wow here. So I'm so glad. When I'm not sharing my screen, I'll put a link to some of the other profiles. So I hope you guys will join the program. There is, if you click on Sylvia's profile, there's, I think, like a link to join, but if not, I'll put it at the end. Okay. So you guys can see my slides. I'll take you a little bit through my background. Many of you, I think, are familiar with me. I have been working in the legal marketing industry for about 20 years or so before I started my own business, which was about 2 years ago. I worked at these firms. And so I started off as a magazine editor at Redbook Magazine, where I wrote the horoscopes and a marriage column, which was funny because I didn't know anything about horoscopes or marriage, and then pivoted to writing about legal marketing and lawyers, which I didn't know anything about either. And then I started working at Paul Weiss, and then I met my mentor, Wendy Bernero, who took me with her to a number of firms, and I ran communications at all of these firms. And then my last job full-time in legal marketing was running the marketing and business development at Tarter, Krinsky & Drogan, which was a mid-sized firm. And now I work with law firms and also legal service providers and legal tech companies on their marketing and business development strategies with like a big focus on content marketing and social media. So my job is to make companies look really good, law firms look good. And a lot of you don't know the companies I work with and firms I work with, which is good because I am sort of like behind the scenes kind of thing. So, okay. And so LinkedIn has exploded over the last few years. You know, I remember telling Sullivan and Cromwell 10 years ago, you guys should really be on social media. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And they were like, we don't need social media. And I said, well, you at least need it for recruiting. And now in this crazy climate of the great resignation and what they call the big quit, yeah, you do actually. So if firms aren't thinking about using social and LinkedIn for business development, they at least should be thinking about it from the perspective of recruiting, which is also a big business development pipeline and alumni relations and all of these things. And this is not going away after the pandemic. We have definitely shifted. Clients are continuing to get younger and younger. So this is a look at my LinkedIn profile, and I bring this up for a couple of reasons. There are some key areas here that I want to make sure we all cover. The focus of this program is on business development, and every part of your profile should really be geared toward that and brand building. I see people make mistakes on their profile every day, starting with the picture they use, which I'm going to get into, to their cover image, which could be not even using one, which is a huge mistake. Your cover image is that big real estate spot at the top, that horizontal area that you can customize yourself. And if you are in business development, or if you work at a law firm or you work at a legal service provider organization, I think you should have that optimized. In fact, I think you should put your contact information up there, and I don't know why more people don't do that. So I see people put, you know, an image of, you know, their firm maybe, or they have like a landscape or something. You know, LinkedIn even gives you like a couple of pictures you can choose from. I wouldn't use those. Those are, you know, too widely used, but why not make it easy for people to find you? It's one of the biggest mistakes I see people do on LinkedIn is not putting your contact info front and center or your capabilities. You'll see what I did here. And by the way, you know, I was in-house as a legal marketer for 20 years before I had my own business. Even if I was in-house, I think I still would do this if I went back to a law firm. I would probably put what my capabilities were. And I don't think it's boastful. I don't think it's tooting my own horn. If I was an intellectual property lawyer, I would put what my capabilities were right there front and center. And I see too many people be too general on this header image, or too many firms, too many organizations just want to do a one size fits all, when this is such a big, it's an area to really wow people. So I would say this is one of the most underutilized areas on a LinkedIn profile today. And I would encourage you to really spend time on that cover image. If you are using Canva, you can customize this so easily. So this is a template I use. Now, there's 4 images of me, which may be overkill, but I do speak publicly a bit, and there's so many things you can do. My free gift to you guys will be, if you want, I'll help you make a cover image. So you just have to link in with me and ask me to do it via LinkedIn Messenger. So that encourages you guys to use LinkedIn. So just shoot me a note on LinkedIn if you want to work on your cover image, and we'll do it together. Okay. The other thing I see people do is not optimize your LinkedIn headline, which is the most important section of your LinkedIn profile. So we've got lots of legal marketers here, sales folks, business development folks. You work directly with lawyers. You, for yourselves, for your own business development, and for your lawyers, need to make sure they are doing this and that you are also doing this. The headline, so this is that line under my name that is, helping law firms, legal tech companies, and legal service providers, blah, blah, blah. That line gets pulled into Google and every single LinkedIn search. That's why it's so important. If you don't optimize it, what LinkedIn does is pull your current job title. And what I find with most people is that, it doesn't really say much. So let's say you are a sales executive at X organization, or you are business development manager at X firm, or you are a partner at X firm. That doesn't tell me much about what you do. It also is searchable with SEO on LinkedIn Navigator and LinkedIn in general. So this is very important to make sure you're using searchable terms that reflect what you do. You get 220 characters to describe yourself, so you might as well use them. Also, guys, if you have any questions, if you put them in the Q&A or the chat, I'll get to them at the end. I'll go through my slides and then I'll save some time for that. And if I don't get to anything, feel free to obviously reach out to me afterward. So we want to optimize your headline. And I do have like a formula for that. I may not get to cover it today, but it's sort of like helping blank do blank. And if you can answer that, you'll be in a good position. I use the pike symbol to break up my headline, which is another way to do it. I see people a lot wanting to put the name of their company in their headline, which you absolutely could do. So you could say business development director at Mayer Brown, and then put the pike symbol, and then say helping law firms create, business leads, blah, blah, blah. So you could do a hybrid, and we'll get into this a little bit later. But if you do nothing today, the things I really want you to do are focusing on your cover image and your headline. And then the third thing will be to create your LinkedIn public profile, to optimize it. So at the bottom, you'll see I pulled my URL, and I put it in the chat, which is, Stephanie, it has Stephanie Marone at the root at the end. If you don't have yours optimized, it's going to have a bunch of extraneous characters at the end, which could be like Stephanie Marone Q4W9P, which I say this in all my programs, makes me sound like a robot or makes me sound like a Roomba, which you're not. And I want everybody from a business development standpoint to optimize theirs. So you go into your profile, you click on the top right, and you say edit public profile and URL, and you're going to delete extraneous characters and make it just your name. And if your name's not available, you'll add in like your middle initial or ESQ or something else. Because from a business development standpoint, you want your URL to be optimized because you want to put it on your email signature, and you want to put it essentially everywhere because you want to facilitate networking. You also want to put your company URL on your email signature as well. And if you're not, and pitches and all of those things, if you're not doing that, you're not really encouraging people to find you on these platforms, because don't assume that they will. I put a link to my company URL on LinkedIn in everything. My email signature, I put it also on every LinkedIn post that I do, all of these things. So this is really, really important to do, okay? And it is a simple thing. The other thing I want everyone to do is check your settings for what people can see with regard to your public profile. You want to make sure that that is basically toggled to the green button on the right for pretty much everything. And do this with lawyers. I do Zooms with lawyers all the time, and I go through this with them, and you'd be surprised how many of them have like everything private, because that's just how they are. But there's no point of being on LinkedIn if you're going to make everything private. So I toggle everything to the green because everybody's searching for everyone on LinkedIn. Okay. And I'm going to share my LinkedIn screen in a little bit to show you guys actually how to do some of these things. So that's going to come up in a few minutes. Okay. Oh, and then also I'm going to talk about your picture here and creator mode for those of you who want to know a little bit more about creator mode, because I think that is going to also be a trend for 2022. And some people have a video that they've created, that short 30-second video. And I want to talk about whether or not you should do that, and whether or not you should have your lawyers do that from a sales and business development perspective, which I think it's actually a good thing to do depending on they're good on camera or not, but they can be trained. Okay. This is how you do that edit custom URL. So if you need help on that, I can give lots of some resources for you for this. So at the end of the day, I tell everyone, everything you do on LinkedIn has to be with the client in mind. And I see so many law firms, so many people do not keep this in mind. And that is why they are not successful on LinkedIn. That's why they get 3 likes on a post. That's why they're like, this isn't worth my time and effort. I see people with their headlines saying that they are a award-winning litigator or award-winning legal marketer or a pioneering blank, 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 and they sound like they're full of themselves. And that's why they turn people off. Your goal is to be client-centric and helpful at every point of your profile and every piece of content you ever post, every touch point of your LinkedIn profile. I never sell myself, and I get business through LinkedIn almost every single week, because everything I aim to do on LinkedIn is about helping other people with the expectation of nothing in return. If lawyers could understand that, they would be so much more successful. If law firms with major followings on LinkedIn would understand that, they would be more successful on LinkedIn. There are so many law firms that have 50,000 followers, 10,000 followers on LinkedIn that post the same darn content that their competitors are posting. And that's why they get low engagement. If you see a law firm that has 10 likes on a post and they have 5,000 followers, or 20 likes on a post and they have 50,000 followers, they're doing something wrong. And most law firms have engagement like that. And the reason is their posts are very, very me-centric, and they're not really about their clients. I really can't tell you one law firm that I think is doing a terrific job with regard to content, because I see the same thing over and over again. But there are ways to flip it. What I'm talking about today are some more strategies for business development, but I do have another program, which maybe I'll be invited back to do, which is how law firms can do a better job with regard to like managing their LinkedIn company pages, which is a whole other kind of thing. And, you know, I'm talking about LinkedIn today, but there's obviously so many other platforms on which you could be. A law firm just hired me to build out a TikTok platform. Now, that's not for business development. That's actually for recruiting and alumni, which I think is such an important pipeline actually for so many things, including, you know, a dotted line to business development. So it's actually quite important. Instagram, very different strategy that I would recommend than Twitter, than Facebook. Snapchat, please don't do it at all. YouTube, incredibly important. Also a place where you can repurpose webinars, which I don't feel like most law firms really maximize. Take that 50-minute webinar CLE program and dice it up into bite-sized pieces of content, and you've got content for weeks, for months, right? Most law firms do what I call one and done, and they don't maximize their content. That's where most law firms go astray when it comes to content marketing. In addition, email marketing needs to be done in conjunction with your social media in order to really reach your clients and prospects. There is no better way to reach them, because I cannot give you a foolproof way to reach every single person on social, because there is no way. Your firm or you can have 5,000 followers, but there is no way to make sure all 5,000 people will see every single piece of content you post, because of the time of day they're on social, their settings, and their preferences, and LinkedIn's wonky algorithm, which is a combination of artificial intelligence / LinkedIn editors, and how well your post does in the first hour you post it, which I will give you secrets on how to make sure your post does better. That's where you hear people say they have LinkedIn engagement pods, and where you hear people say that they like certain people's posts in the first hour, and you should be doing that with your firm, with people. So it actually does work. Okay, so I'm not gonna go into, why you should have a social media strategy. You know that it's so much more than obviously brand building. It's lead generation. Your clients are checking you out whether you like it or not. I tell lawyers this on an individual basis all the time. Whether they use LinkedIn once a year or every day, it's still the second Google search result for them, period. Okay, so their bio is number one, LinkedIn is number two. That's it. So if there's not a compelling reason to use LinkedIn, I don't know what is. It helps with recruiting and lateral recruiting, which is so important right now in this incredibly crazy competitive talent market. It gives you the opportunity to generate positive buzz about lawyers when you're not getting in publications. So this has probably been the key to my success. Using what I call owned media on social. So this is creating practice area campaigns and lawyer campaigns to highlight lawyers that are under the radar with the media. You may have tried so hard to get them in the mainstream media, but the media is not biting. So you can do a practice area or a lawyer spotlight series, a Q&A spotlight series, and feature them yourselves and reach your 50,000 followers instead of waiting for the media to hopefully pick up an article about them. Yes, it's great to have third-party validation from a publication that is respected, but it's almost even better to do it yourself. Clients see that. Clients respond to that. I did one for Proskauer, and our clients responded, actually wrote comments, so-and-so is such a great lawyer. We trust him with all of our work. Bam. Done. Another thing I want to mention is if you have good Glassdoor reviews, which most of you do, take them and use them, and also Chambers, your best lawyers, best law firms, Chambers reviews, use those in a social campaign and sporadically put them throughout the year. And for practices and for individuals, your lawyers also will think you are like the best thing since, like, I don't know, Godiva chocolates. Like, it's such a great thing to do. So I would just work that in with your business development and communications teams. And it's a great way to repurpose stuff that, you've got sitting in a Excel document somewhere, these great Chambers quotes. Why not reuse them? And then, this does help stay top of mind, which is the goal with social. It is stay top of mind so that you come up in people's feeds in a positive way. Okay. And I'm not, obviously LinkedIn, I went through why. And the other thing is there are 750 million plus people on LinkedIn. Do you know that 150 million people got on LinkedIn during the pandemic? It's crazy, right? So, and only 1% of people use LinkedIn regularly to post. That's extraordinary. There's such opportunity. And of that 1%, most people's content is mediocre, which gives you even more opportunity. I don't look at other law firms to get inspiration. I look at to the big the accounting firms. I look at financial institutions. I look at consumer companies to get ideas, and I just like reinvent things. I do things differently. And obviously, this is just great opportunity to reach people in this very it's free too for the amount of time and effort you have to put into it. You've got a great just vehicle here to boost your brand and business. People say all the time I should get more active on LinkedIn, and then they're like, well, what's in it for me? There's so much. It's the only real business platform out there, and your clients are on it whether or not they're active. Like in terms of whether they're showing you they're active, I say they're in invisible only mode. They're looking at your content, but they're not engaging. That's something to put in your back pocket when so-and-so tells you, so-and-so lawyer says, this isn't worth our time or investment. Yes, it is, because everyone's looking at you on every single platform. You better believe it. So some of the success strategies when it comes to LinkedIn, and I would say this is absolutely true for our company page and also individuals, and could be used for each of you and for lawyers. And I hope each of you will test some of these out and then, try out this advice with your lawyers. Contributing, participating. And when I say also contributing, it's liking other people's posts. So the best way to build relationships is to like people's posts, like prospects, referral sources, sharing your clients' posts, and tagging them. If your lawyers don't know how to do that, that's that @ and then putting their name in and mentioning them. So Jim Smith just wrote this terrific client alert on X topic. You should read it. And that's great. That's a great way to build a relationship. Promote the successes of your clients. Somebody asked me, how do we choose which clients? That's something you'll have to decide. Do we want people to know that that's our client? You don't have to say it's your client. It could be someone, how's someone going to know? It could be someone you went to law school with. It could be a friend from a board. Don't assume, lawyers tend to jump to that conclusion that someone's going to know that that's my client and then they're going to steal them. We all deal with that every day, right? I tell them there's no way somebody could possibly know that. So just tell them that. Send them to me and I'll tell them all the reasons why no one will actually know that that's their client. Intentionality is really important, being strategic. It doesn't have to take 6 hours to be on LinkedIn. I tell them that all the time. Trying out new things just to see what sticks. I have posts that fail terribly and I learn from them and then I try something new. Watching, listening, and learning, being consistent. So consistent for me is going to be different for somebody else, especially for a busy lawyer. Maybe it's once a week for them. Giving without expecting anything in return. Okay, so people say all the time, I'm going to post something like post the CLE presentation I did, post my slides, give away all my secrets. No. Okay, number one, they still need you to implement the strategy. Number two, don't give away the 30-page CLE. Why don't you just put 3 slides and then say, contact me for the rest? And actually, so when I talk a lot about carousel posts, I love them. If you don't know what they are, I'll show you, what it is, but you can basically take a PowerPoint, turn it into a PDF, and then upload it as basically a tile. So it could be like updates in trademark law. And then it could be like 3 slides, and then your contact info on the last slide. And then it could say to get the full presentation, contact me. And you could say, I recently presented this to X group. It talked about these updates in trademark law. For the full presentation, contact me, kind of thing. That's great content. Okay. Make sure your lawyers also tag that to their featured section, which if you don't know about, I'll show you guys that in a minute. Helping others. And then my biggest tip is don't brag. If your lawyers are in super lawyers or chambers, the worst thing they can do is post those posts that say, I'm honored and humbled to be named to chambers, blah, blah, blah. They're a dime a dozen. They appear all the time. I think it's much better if the firm posts it on their behalf and they like the post, but they don't do anything for the lawyer and people feel obligated to post those. If you're going to post them, I'd rather they share a story about why they became a lawyer, adversity that they faced, why they chose that firm, how the firm supported them, the deal that actually helped them get selected, the Herculean efforts of maybe like the administrative team and the paralegals that got that deal done, the M&A deal that got them to that list. So there's a way to recast it that doesn't make them sound like they're full of themselves. And so that's what I would love to see lawyers do differently with regard to those vanity posts, especially when it's a peer-to-peer one or a paid one. Okay. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to get to them. And I'm looking at the time because guys, I could talk about this for days. I'm actually launching LinkedIn group coaching starting in February. So if anyone's interested in that, and it's a charity-based thing, I'm going to donate your registration fee to the charity of your choice. So if anyone's interested in that for you or your lawyers, let me know also. So at the heart of success when it comes to LinkedIn or your employees, so let's say your firm has 5,000 LinkedIn followers and your lawyer has 2,000. There's no way, so your lawyers may have overlap between who follows the firm, but this is why it's so important that your lawyers are on board with sharing the firm's successes, okay, in a way that makes sense for them. And what I find is a lot of lawyers don't know how to share, or they don't have the time, or they feel inundated, or they feel like nervous about it, or they share it with some of those social sharing automatic platforms, which I hate because they share without context or text. The worst thing someone can do on social is sharing something without intro text. It's the equivalent of sending an email without a subject line or body copy. You might as well not share. So I'm all for automation, but not when it comes to this. So it's really important to add something. So what I do, and I think a lot of firms do this, is I tell people when I've shared something that's important, I will send them intro text and say, can you put your own spin on this? And if it's really, really important for a busy lawyer, I will actually write text for them to share. I don't like taking over people's LinkedIn accounts, but I have on certain, managing partners or heads of groups but we talk about a strategy first, and I make sure they know how to do it because I don't want them to be self-reliant I don't want them to be reliant on me. Okay. So it's really important to tap into their networks, or your firm and your business development will not be as successful because the odds are that they have the more important connections. So this is a key to a law firm's social media success, is getting the lawyers to share and in their voice. So if you do anything, it's the training around this and making them feel comfortable to share. They also need to actively increase their networks, or they will not have people in their networks to share it to. So many lawyers just sit back and wait to get requests, and then they accept them or not. That is also not using LinkedIn strategically. They need to actually add people. So I find that is also really important to making sure that they're building a connections plan for LinkedIn, thinking about the kinds of people that they want to actively add to their network. Okay. It's also really important to remember that people don't really send an email anymore unless they're actively working on a matter with you when they move jobs. So it's up to us to do the due diligence. So that's why that notification section of LinkedIn is so important right now. People are getting, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting notifications 6, 7 a day of new jobs, which is, Q1, people waited till get their bonuses and now they're moving. So this is very important for your CRM. It's very important for business development and sales. We've got to make sure that the lawyers are feeding you that information to let you know, so you guys update the CRM, or if they're telling their secretaries. So that's something I would send an email about. It's just, if they're noticing some updates and contact info, to feed those to you. And then they should also use that as a trigger to reach out to them. So that's that notification section, the bell on the right-hand side, that so-and-so got a new job. They should be reaching out to those people to say congratulations, either via LinkedIn or sending them an email, or even reaching out to them and say, hey, let's schedule, a lunch if it's safe, or a call or a Zoom or whatever. And then this should be then a prospect, right? So those notifications are primo business development, a prime business development tool, in my opinion, and particularly in Q1. Okay. And so also promotions, I'm seeing those come through those should also be on their list to think about, sending in a quick congratulatory note, but then use that as the catalyst to, raise a discussion about, potential work. Okay. And that really does work. I can't tell you how many times the lawyers with whom I've worked that's turned into new business. This is also the time to think about content. So wrap up from 2021 and a look ahead to 2022. It's not too late. It's still pertinent to do. So, trends in intellectual property law over the past year and what's to come in 2022. Find your area, encourage the lawyers to write it. Even if it's been done by another firm, it doesn't matter. Your clients care what you have to say. Send it with a note. Jim, just published this, applies to you guys because of X. Here you go, kind of thing. It's a great way to stay top of mind. If you haven't done a New Year's greeting, it's still also not too late. It's another touch point to wish them a happy new year. It doesn't have to be done on the first of the year. A lot of people were dealing with Omicron. Still okay to do it in the first couple of weeks of January, okay? Okay, so I mentioned before, everyone is still on LinkedIn in some sort of like stealth way, checking you guys out, checking out the lawyers, whether they like it or not. And one of the things that's also really important is to make sure you're Googling yourself at least once a month and setting up a Google search. I really encourage lawyers to do this and for everyone here to do this, just so that you're managing your personal brand. I also tell people to do this for their clients and their prospects so that you set up a free Google search so that you're abreast of news going on about them. And many of you may have already like a library department or research group that does this, but I don't always wait for them to do it. I set it up myself because, again, these are prompts to reach out to people. Information is power. I worked with a lawyer who didn't know that, one of his clients, I was a real estate developer, was buying a bunch of buildings in Queens. And it turned out, he found out about it through a Google search and congratulated him. And then it turned out, they had lunch and turned into a matter eventually. Information is good. So I just think it could be a powerful thing. And, if you have a name like Jim Smith or it's, a generic company, there's going to be stuff you have to sift through, but I still think it's useful. Okay. So I want to show you guys something about, just Google searches. 80% of law firm visits to websites go directly to the bio pages, again, underscoring the power of bios. So the new year is always when I work with my law firm clients, and when I was in-house, I worked with the lawyers on updating their bios. So, I say they should update their bios several times a year, but now is a good time to do it. I also say that, if you don't say you do it in your bio and on LinkedIn and your profile, people think you don't do it. And keywords and SEO on LinkedIn and your bio do make a difference. So, lots has changed in the world over the last 18 months. Make sure they're really thinking about their bios and that they're digestible, the short pieces of content, section headers, those sorts of things. I used to work with Brad Carpet, Paul Weiss, he's such a great guy. One of the things I'll say is like, look at his bio, comes up as #1 Google search result. #2 is his LinkedIn profile. Does anyone want to put in the chat what's wrong with Brad's LinkedIn profile right off the bat from what we learned already today? And you guys, I'll give a prize out. And while you're doing that, look, Brad also has a Wikipedia page. People ask me a lot, do the lawyers at my firm, which ones need a Wikipedia page? And that's something I'll cover in a different program, but you only can do one if you can substantiate the things you're saying with outside information that, you can footnote. You can't just say he's the greatest lawyer in the world and they'll take the page down. You have to have resources. So let's see who got it. Yes. Okay. So Allison and Julie both. So I will message me your email addresses and I will send you both a Starbucks card. Both of you are right. So Allison said his headline isn't specific. He said chair of the firm. Brad is actually the head of the litigation practice as well. And Julie said the URL needs to be shortened. Yes, Brad sounds like a Roomba, right? Or a robot. Great. Okay. You'll see here my Google search results. And again, like I always Google myself. And, the best way to get your lawyers to have better Google search results is to have them write content. Get on JD Supra, Mondac, Lexology. The content syndicators will boost their Google search results immediately. Blogs, all of those things. You'll see here my LinkedIn profile is number 1, and then my about section on my blog, which is my website, is number 2. And you'll see here that it pulls my information just right here, which is great. Okay. My Twitter. So just, be careful what you do, what you accept, et cetera. I always tell lawyers, just, keep the politics out of everything on social. So anyway, I mentioned like the invisible user only mode, which is really important. I tell everyone this, know that the numbers are like, that's why I say like the number of likes, comments, and shares are like misleading, because every one of us has people that look at our posts but never ever like them, but we know that they follow us, and which I find like so interesting. There are tons of people who like say that they like my post, but I've never seen them once like my content. And I'm like, they're like, oh, we're your biggest fans. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. So just keep that in your back pocket for the lawyers who say, well, I only got 3 likes, or, our clients aren't using social. Yes, they are. Okay. And this is the Green Target report. Like this is an older, 2018, but actually I could update this to 2021. This is actually true for every single year. And this happens every single year. People are, this is Jamie Field. Thank you. They're called lurkers. It's like somebody will like comment on your personal social and say, oh, your trip to Aruba looked great. And you're like, you've never once liked one of my posts. So clients are looking at everything. Everyone's Googling you. Just remember that. Somebody like, I interviewed someone for a job recently and they were like, oh, your dogs, Lucy and Scarlett, are so cute. And I was like really creeped out by it, actually, even though, their Instagram is public, but I was like, okay. So there are 3 essential building blocks of LinkedIn. And one is your profile, and one is your connection. The other one's your connections, and the other one is your participation with your connections. And I find most lawyers have the most trouble with the third one. And that's the one that is, I don't know, just, sort of like problematic, I think, for a lot of us. And a lot of us don't want to put ourselves out there. A lot of lawyers feel like, well, why me? It's imposter syndrome. It's also like, well, what do I have to say that's unique or different or anything like that? And I get it. And you have to find your voice when it comes to these things. And it's not hard because there's so much bad content out there, or mediocre content. And I've been told, so I don't know how to keep plants alive. I kill all plants. If anyone has any tips on keeping an orchid alive, I would love if you could put them in the chat for me or message me directly. But, and I've tried the ice cube in the pot, but I still can't keep my orchid alive. But what I have been told is like for plants, you have to water them and then they grow. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. So lawyers, a lot of people tend to just set up a LinkedIn profile and say, okay, I'm done. Well, that's actually not true. It is the same thing, in general, like, okay, well, like if you build it, they'll come. Like, okay, we have a website. Great. No, actually, and it's a lot of people in the recruiting market right now. Okay, we're Sullivan and Cromwell. The candidates will come to us. Actually, no, not anymore. It's not enough to have that great name on the door. There is so much more. You have to reciprocate, okay? And so that's what writing content and engaging with your audience and sharing other people's content is all about, and being active on the platforms. And one of the things that to think about is, some things about LinkedIn secrets is don't assume all of your connections see all of your posts. Your content is actually only seen by a very small select group of people who LinkedIn determines based on who's liked your post recently and with whom you've interacted and messaged with. If there's no engagement with your posts, it won't go further than that. and that's tricky. So that's why it's important to get engagement in the first hour or two of your post. And so that's something to think about as well. And that's also a reason to build a content calendar and to have your content, repurpose your content. I find sometimes changing up the image will make a big difference. So one of the things LinkedIn does is if they have like certain, they use AI and they use also, they use humans, but if they see an image with a lot of skin, so like a woman with a skirt and a blouse, like with like a sleeveless blouse, they oftentimes will shadow ban that image. So that's why the image won't go anywhere. So they have like AI factors that do that. So you'd be better off like putting, so I know somebody who put up an image with like a sleeveless blouse and a skirt, and she got no interaction on the post. She put up the same exact post with a pantsuit, and the post went viral. So there are things that happen. And then also there was another post with words that somebody used, and it was also shadow banned. There are sometimes words that are used that catch AI, and then LinkedIn doesn't let the post go further. So there are things behind the scenes that happen. So if you notice your post is not going anywhere, you might just want to change it up a little bit. Reactions makes a difference. So it's really important to comment on every one of your comments and not just say thanks. You want to comment with something more substantial, and engaging with your post is going to make a big difference. Okay. So I want to go through a few things because I don't have a ton of time. Maybe I'll come back and do a second program on this, but the bar is pretty low. I want to just show you guys some things I wouldn't recommend doing. This is what I call like hashtag filler. You only want to use 5 hashtags. And I have another course on hashtags that I'm doing on January 28th. And you guys can sign up, just message me for that one. You want to use 5 hashtags, no more, 3 to 5, and they have to be really relevant. Too many followers is bad to use. A lot of law firms think that using hashtags in the million followers is good, and it's actually not. So you want to find the right hashtags, and it really depends on the topics. I can go into that another time. Me posts are not good. I'll tell you one, like, so here's an example. I'm thrilled to share blah, blah, blah. What I find so humbling is that it's based on peer review. So the people who are on the top also think I'm pretty good at this. Does this sound humbling to you? You put in the comments if you think, yeah, thanks, right? So I did an analysis of the posts that came out for Chambers, for Super Lawyers, and Best Lawyers. And I think they were like 84% all started with, I'm either thrilled or I'm humbled and honored. And they were just same old, same old. So like I said earlier, if you can encourage the lawyers to start it off with telling a story about, a triumph or a challenge or how they got where they are or the matter, why it was so interesting, that would be a better way to do it. And again, if you can't answer why the client would care about it, abort mission. Okay. I encourage all of you to encourage your lawyers to get to that 500 plus goal in terms of connections, because that is when LinkedIn will say that you have 500 plus connections, and it's really important. It's also the more, the better. Obviously, the quality of your connections is better than the quantity, but the more people you have in your network, the better. Okay. I do a whole separate company page course, which is a very different strategy. And the more, it takes a while to build your company page followers, and there are some different strategies that I would advise for that. But, it's true. It's the more, the better. And I'm just going to go through a few of these. So, LinkedIn is the primary social network for professional service firms. And that's where clients are. That's where your prospects are. That's where they're engaging in conversations. So that's where you want to be. In terms of business development, I would just tell you guys, make it easy for people to find you. So I mentioned in the beginning, let's put our contact information in our header. Let's also go to the contact information page section and put it there. And I also would love for people to put it in their bio, in the bottom. Never, ever put any text whatsoever on your profile in all caps. I wrote a post about this recently. It's the equivalent of yelling at people. Please don't do that. So this is a contact info section, guys. And you'll see here, I have 2 websites. One is a link to my link tree. Nobody really has this, and I don't know why. I have my link tree on every social platform, and I would love for firms to do this, because you can, on Twitter and Instagram, you only get 1 URL. On LinkedIn, you get 3. So look at my link tree. So Linktree is 1 URL where you can hinge a number of other URLs. So I've got all of my social channels, a link to my Women Who Wow, a link to my blog, my email list, and then I've got, you can't see all of them, but I've got my JD Super page. I have a link to my upcoming webinars, articles I've written, tons of things. Law firms, guys, you could do your YouTube channel, you could do upcoming webinars, you can move them around. Everybody here needs to set up a link tree, okay? It's free, by the way. You can pay for another version and get a different one, and the other one would just give you analytics, which you don't need. So that's my other thing. I want you guys to take away setting up a link tree, and I have an article that I will send to everybody about Linktree, okay? Okay, use LinkedIn analytics to your advantage. If you have a company page, you can see every single person who followed you. Make sure they're also on your email list, and look to see some trends about your posts and what does well and what doesn't. The analytics on LinkedIn are just as good, if not better, than HubSpot. I do not like posting directly into Hootsuite or HubSpot because I don't feel like I get the best analytics and I can't tag people there. So LinkedIn stuff is just really good. Okay. The notification section can bring in business. This is what I mentioned, the birthday. So one of my clients wished one of his clients a happy birthday, a referral, and he wound up getting a piece of business. It sounds silly, but it works. So the anniversaries, promotions, wish people congratulations. Don't send impersonal cold emails. They don't work for sales stuff. I don't like them, and don't do them. Every touch point you have makes a huge difference. So publish and consume interesting and relevant content. That goes without saying. If you're not comfortable writing your own post, it took me, by the way, a while before I did, publish other people's posts. You could write a post about today's webinar saying, 5 things I learned from today's LinkedIn for Business Development webinar, right? And that's a post. Take advantage of LinkedIn sponsored updates and pay per click ads. So I'm not going to get a chance to talk about this, but I could come back and do it. And also Sam McKenna is terrific at this. This is what she does for a living with LinkedIn Navigator, and all her stuff. Her sales trainings are great. I would also recommend following her. LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Again, I won't have time to get into this, but if you're serious about business development and sales, and a lot of you have this already for your firms, this helps you zero in on prospects in a way that regular LinkedIn doesn't. And then I mentioned, please put a link to your LinkedIn profile into your company page and your email signature. Why wouldn't you do this? And then just quickly about some profile tips. Everyone here should have all-star status. All-star status on your LinkedIn profile actually does help you get discoverable. It makes your profile visible to more people. So you want that. If you have intermediate, I'm telling you, the one thing you're probably missing is your about section. Make sure you have that summary section filled out. So manage your profile, it's managing your brand. It creates opportunities. It builds your networks. LinkedIn's algorithm does reward people who have that, and you will show up in more searches. And there is a massive strength to having that all-star, okay? And then these are the things, I'd like for you guys to make sure you have filled out. That link tree is really gonna help you, and most people don't have that filled out. So I'd love for you to do that. When it comes to your profile picture and headline, let me go into your profile picture. So hang on, I just wanna skip a few slides here. Okay. So this is Kasowitz Benson's website, which like I always show as an example of like what not to do. Like they wanted to be known as like ferocious litigators, bulldogs, and they weren't allowed to show teeth on their website or smile. And I don't think every litigator or everybody hiring a litigator wants to go to court or have a ferocious litigator. I know I don't. So I would recommend smiling in your picture. I want to hire a lawyer who really advocates for me and who I like, know, and trust personally. So while I may not want like this, I prefer something more like this than this personally. So I would encourage your lawyers to smile. And that's my advice on that. And we talked about your headline, so I'm going to skip out of that. But I'll send these slides, some of the slides. And these are just some best practices with regard to your headline. And this is my template, just very basic, helping X do Y, okay? And these are some examples of some headlines that I like and some cover images, although I want to take you guys in a different direction with the contact info for headlines. And I'm not a fan of Perkins Coie's. I think the font is too big for the firm name. I think it just screams in your face. This is what it looks like to not have one. Not going to be able to get into all this stuff today, so maybe I'll come back. I do want everybody, please, to use the featured section. It's where you can pin your updates to your profile, and it's so awesome. You can scroll through and then just have these items living on your profile. And let me just get to one other thing. Oh, recommendations, guys, help lead me to a new client. And I very much recommend you use the recommendations. It's terrific. So one of my now clients saw that somebody he went to high school with recommended me. It was a partner I worked with many years ago. And he said, if that person recommends Stephanie, she's someone I want to work with. That was a passive thing that was on my profile for years. So you never know when a recommendation could be working for you, leading to a new piece of business. So that is a firsthand story of recommendations leading to business. And let me just, I want to just go through, I won't be able to get to all of this stuff, but the cover story is something really interesting that I think some lawyers could be ready for. And if you do it, it's a 30-second short video that you upload on your phone, and then you get this little ring around your photo, and you can introduce yourself via video, okay? So that is something cool. I'm just gonna look to see if there are any comments or questions in here. I didn't get to everything that I wanted to talk about. I do have a recording of the business course that I do, which I can send to people. And I'm just going to try and go through some of these questions. Yeah, so, okay, so there's something about the QR code. So let me look for okay, so the QR code must, okay, here's the QR code, guys. Can you guys see it? So it's not exactly where it was. So in the regular search bar on the app, you have to click one more time on the search bar to get it. In the regular search bar, you're going to see on the right-hand side to get to your messages, you have to just click one more time, and then it appears. Can you see that? It appears on the right side when you click on it again. Okay. Does that make sense? I can, to Ben's question, can I show an example of one of my social campaigns in my next? Yes, but I didn't have time to do that. So I can do that in another program. So I'll write down these comments. Yeah, okay. Navigator, I don't have time to do today. Okay. Oh, what do you do if you have a name that's everyone else has when you do a Google search? Yeah, that's tough. Okay. There really is nothing you can do about that. I would start to use your middle initial, maybe in some of them. You have to sift through some of the stuff. It's one of the hard things to do. Like, try your middle initial in some of the things. If that doesn't work, you may also want to try and use like your, like if you have an advanced degree, you may want to try and use that in some of the things as well. And let's see. Okay, looks like, do you recommend you use a different photo in your cover image than you do in your profile picture? Yes, I do. Well, like it could be somewhat of the same one, but you have to change it up in some way because it's a horizontal picture and you have more real estate there. I was using the same image in my regular picture and then, my profile picture. And then like I had various versions of it, but you need to have like something more in there because it's a bigger image. So I do think the contact info is a good thing to put in there, maybe some of your specialties. I don't know. What do you guys think of that idea? I hope it gave you some inspiration. I would just encourage you to stay away from like, an image of like a landscape or like your favorite city. I just think it's overdone and it doesn't add to your brand and what makes you unique. So yeah, and I will guys like put a link to, let me put a link to the email sign up for, if you want to sign up for my email list or the Women Who Wow, it's the same one and I can sign you guys up for that. And I also have a YouTube channel if you guys want to watch, like all of the past programs that I've done are on my YouTube channel. I hope this was helpful. I do have like a LinkedIn hashtag program. I talk really fast. LinkedIn with me if you're not LinkedIn with me because I post like a lot of tips there too. I have a LinkedIn hashtags program on January 28th that that you guys also might enjoy too. And yeah, I see we've got a lot of women who wow. There's Jamie here and Erin. So it's so nice to see everybody here. So yeah, I hope it was helpful, guys. Do reach out. Do take me up on the offer if you guys want to do your LinkedIn cover image. I will make one for you.
And Stephanie, we got to talk because you need to come back. There's so much content. Everyone wants to know more.
I know. I'm doing, like I said, a group LinkedIn coaching program, and I'm asking if you guys want to like donate to your favorite cause or charity. That's going to be the that's just going to be what I'm going to ask people to as the fee, and then yeah. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Stephanie. It was very valuable. I got more than 5 things. When you said 5 things we learned, I learned a lot more than 5 items during today's webinar. But I also just want to comment that if you're not already a member of LSSO, please consider joining this year. We'll be starting a members only quarterly training and network sessions. And the first one is on February 9th. You can find out more on the website at legalsales.org. So thank you again, Stephanie, for everything. And we look forward to learning more from you in the future.
Thanks, guys.